like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Also, check out my Patreon. I got a lot of good content on there. I got some new content I made up in New York. I got a mob tour of East New York. We're going to put the link in here, so if you want to check it out, just hit the link. And we got some really good content. So tonight I want to talk about a couple of things, but I just want to, first I want to say something. It's Jay Black's birthday today. And for all of you that know, my family is very, very close to Jay. Jay and the Americans. I remember the first time I met him when I was a kid. I thought Elvis Presley was coming by my house, and how he looked all dapper with an ascot on and his hair all buffed out. And, it was just an exciting day for me and my brother and my sister, actually. We waited upstairs, and then we were allowed to come down and meet him. Today's his birthday, November 2nd. He's another fellow Scorpio like me and John Gotti. So I want to just wish him a happy birthday in heaven. And, we miss him. We miss him a lot. So I did a tour of East New York and City Line, and it's on my Patreon. And it was really, brought back a lot of memories. I passed by a couple of good spots. Check out the video. You'll see it's pretty interesting. Also, I have a video of there with John's barber, as you all know. Well, anyway, the tour really was good. I passed by some really good spots. I told some really good stories. So, check it out. And it's funny because, all these guys out there and everybody's trying to figure out who's the boss of what and who runs this family and who runs that family. And so, I was born and raised in Ozone Park, and I still talk to a couple of people that live in Ozone Park, and the word I'm hearing from a pretty good source, I would say, is that Jeannie Gotti is the boss of the Gambino family. That's what I was told a couple of days ago when I was up in New York, that he was the boss of the Gambino family. And actually, I also heard that they reopened Cafe Liberty, which was Fat Andy and Tony Lee's original club, and then Skinny Dom allegedly took it over, and everybody thinks it's his club, but it was not his club. It was Fat Andy's and Tony Lee's club for many, many, many years. And then they were taking, Tony Lee died, and my father was in jail. He started running it. Well, anyway, from what I heard, that it was reopened, and I had to see it with my own eyes. I couldn't believe that I don't know how they got the store owners out of there, but they did. And I passed by there, and it's actually reopened. I didn't see anybody. It was early in the morning. I'm sure the doors were locked, but it had curtains in the windows, like white curtains in the windows. So I'm assuming that's so nobody could see in, and it is in fact open. I guess they're in a time warp. I don't know. They're all old men. I don't know why they just don't all stay home with their grandkids and be happy. But I know it's power, it's ego, it's like a drug. My mom told me that many, 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 many years ago, when the Bananas, when the three captains disappeared, because one of them owned a big, tremendous cargo company in Kennedy Airport, and he was loaded. He was a multimillionaire, and he disappeared. And I knew him. I used to go to my old man, and I asked my man, why would he want to be the boss? He's a millionaire. And, because of the power, the ego, the power, it's like a drug. So that's the word I got. I don't know if it's true or not, but I have to say my source is pretty good. So if it is, good luck. Good luck with that. So, and now also I want to talk about, I always talked about, how I always went to the worst jails and got the most time because I was Fat Andy's son. Well, that is another fella out there that's suffering the same fate I did, and that's Anthony Ruggiano Jr., Quack's son. He was indicted on that NBA case with the mob and the poker games and all that. And he's the only person on the whole case that's not out on bail. The only one. The only person that's not out on bail. They put no bail on this kid. He had a $5 million package to get out for a nonviolent crime, and they won't let him out. Their claim is because he threatened the witness, and the witness wasn't even threatened. He was in jail from what I understand, he was in jail doing time, and they put a person in his cell that was cooperating. And when he found out, he just pointed to the guy and like made a remark like, I'm going to get you or I'll get you, they perpetrated it. What did they expect this kid to do when he found out the guy was cooperating? He was in his cell. Did he think he wasn't supposed to? He's lucky. They're lucky he didn't beat the shit out of the guy and hurt him. And that's what they're holding against him. My belief is they're keeping him in jail because he's Angelo Quack's son. And to this day, they hate anybody that had anything to do with John Gotti. To this day, they still hate anything or anybody that has to do with John Gotti. I even suffered those consequences, but I got arrested for numbers, and they made it a 15 minute John Gotti. He had nothing to do with the number business that we had. Nothing to do at all. Matter of fact, he used to break my balls and tell me, hey, we made 14 million last year. Where's my end? And I used to go, yeah, you're making a joke. I'm going to go to jail for this bullshit. And I did. I got a 1 1/3 to 4. And I feel sorry for this kid because now he's going to suffer the consequences of being Angelo Quack's son. Out of everybody that got pinched on that case, he's the only kid, the only person that's still in jail with no bail. And I don't care what anybody says, that's a direct result of him being Angelo's son. And just like I was Fat Andy's son, and Michael Francis was Sonny's son, and John Jr. was John's son, we all paid a price for them. We all paid the price for who our fathers were, all of us. That's all I have to say on that.
Check your phone.
Boom. Okay, we got some questions coming in. Let's see what we got here. All right. From Uncle Charlie. Hi, I have a question. I know you and Gene Barillo are cousins, but how come you guys were with different families? Thank you. Have a good night. We were with different families because when I went to prison in 1996, Gene was 12 years old. When I came out of prison in 2004, Gene was 20 years old. And when I went to prison and he got in the street and he started running the streets, he hooked up with Vinny Asara, who was very good friends with his grandfather. And the reason why Gene winded up with them was because I wasn't home and my father wasn't home. That's the only reason why. If I was home or my father was home, Gene would have never been with that crew, never. That's the only reason why Gene winded up with the Bananas, is because we weren't on the street. Dutchman, hey, hello, Anthony. Where was Chris's Pizzeria you speak about? It was by 210. Who killed Anthony Stabile? Yep, it was right across the street from 210 on 101st Avenue. And who killed Anthony Stabile? We all know it was Banky on Crosby Boulevard. Banky and his crew killed Anthony Stabile. So that's a known fact. Sherry, what was the worst thing you ever did as a kid growing up into life? Oh, come on, my brother-in-law. That was the worst thing I did by far. What happened with my brother-in-law? East New York mob, hangouts at Fat Andy's Bar. Yep. Is that on Conduit in Atlantic? No. It was on Eastern Parkway in Atlantic, and then it was on Liberty Avenue. John Gotti's barber takes out Jimmy Burke's son. Yes. He wasn't really John's barber. His brother Frankie was John's barber, but we all went to that salon, father and son salon. But Tito actually was not his barber. Frankie was John's barber, Tito's brother. So it wasn't Tito, the Puerto Rican guy that killed him. No, it wasn't Tito, the Puerto Rican. It was not Tito, the Puerto Rican. Hold on. Let me get the rest of them here. This is from Russ. Hey, Anthony, another good video. Likes, hyped, and commented. Why did you hate Detroit so much? Could have been worse and ended up in Huntsville, Alabama. I didn't hate. I like the people there. I mean, I made great friends there. They're still friends. I mean, they're still in my life. I just didn't like it. I mean, I didn't really care for the meetings there. They were weird. The NA meetings were weird. The people I loved. There was no ocean. I didn't like being I didn't like there was no ocean to go to, no beach. I don't know. There's some things I liked about it and some things I didn't like about it. That's the bottom line. Hey, Anthony, did you know anything about Jilly Rizzo? Well, I knew he used to go to Jilly's. We used to go to his club in Manhattan where Frank Sinatra stayed. He was, Frank Sinatra's main guy. Scott, where were you when Bobby Barillo got hit? I think I was home. I was no place special when he got killed in his driveway. I don't remember where I was. I don't think I was in prison. I didn't go to his funeral. I know that. So I might have been in prison because I don't remember going to his funeral. And I probably would have went to his funeral if I was home. This is from Ragnar. Hey, Anthony, hope you and your family are well, brother. How would Gene manage to meet people and the like? Is he a lifetime probation? And would it be worse? What kind of money would boss pull in these days? No, Gene's not on lifetime probation. Gene's on home confinement. That's what Gene's on for the remainder of the case, that his criminal case that he has pending. Soon as the case is over, one way or the other, he won't be on any kind of supervision. What kind of money did the boss make? It all depends on whatever. They made a lot of money. They probably still make a lot of money. That's why they want to be the boss. Jimmy, any chance you remember the name of the restaurant near you? No, I don't. I've been thinking about it and thinking about it. I can't think for the life of me. I can't think of what the name was. This is from, I can't read the name. Was there any weird stuff people used to gamble on? Not horses, but like pig racing, little people throwing a lot of marbles racing? Nah, that's only in the movies. We bet on horse racing, we bet on horses, nothing weird. Back in the day, they bet on, dogs fighting rats, and that it was a different world back then, but not in my time. What's this? This is from P. Cardi. Hey, Anthony, can I get a shout out to Bra? I don't know what that means, but I have no idea what that means. J. Paul. Hey, Anthony, love the show. Did you happen to know Ronnie Glaziat? No, I didn't know him. Nope, sorry. Alex, did you know the older Scotty brother Carmine? The older brother that moved to LA. I met him only once. I met him once at I believe it might have been Vicky's wedding. It was one of John Gotti's daughter's weddings. I met him I remember he had a ponytail. That's about it. And he was dancing a lot, but I never really knew him. He was gone in California. I think he's still out there. Roxanne, for the way you navigate the gene, pointing out the negatives and sharing recovery. Thank you. All right, thanks. Thank you. Uncle Charlie, what happened with the guy, the owner of L&B Pizza? I have no idea what happened to him. That's a good question. I'll have to ask somebody in the neighborhood. Dutchman, did your father name your brother after Albert Anastasia? Your father must have had some stories about the man. No, my father named my brother after my grandfather, Alberto. My father's father was named Albert. That's how my brother got the name. It had nothing to do with Anastasia. He was named after my grandfather. Waiting for some more questions to come in. From Rob, did you know an old-time gangster named Nicky Ratani from Yonkers? No, it doesn't ring a bell, and I'm bad with that stuff, but it doesn't really ring a bell, no. I never really hung out much in Yonkers. Sherry, did you ever get to meet Sonny Red or Sonny Black? Yeah, I met them. I met them a couple of times. I met all of them. I met everybody back then. I was running around in the street. I was going to a lot of clubs, a lot of places. I was running around with my father. I was running around with Tony Lee. Matthew Soto, you think Ray Liotta should have played Tommy and Pesci should have played Henry Hill to match the accurate characters? I I don't think Joe Pesci would have played Henry. I think he didn't fit Henry either. He played too good of a part with Tommy, but I mean, they could have mixed it up. But it worked out the way it worked out. I mean, Joe Pesci won an Academy Award for it, so it worked out good for him. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. That's for the question I just answered about Tommy and Ray Liotta. I mean, Joe Pesci was definitely miscast. I mean, he didn't look nothing like Tommy. Tommy was tall and handsome and had a lot of charisma. Tommy looked like a movie star, more like a movie star than Joe Pesci. Eli, where and what was your dad's favorite pizza? He didn't really have a favorite pizza. I mean, he wasn't really a big pizza eater, my old man. He liked food. I mean, he ate pizza, but he never mentioned a favorite pizza. He was more of a food eater than a pizza eater. Dutchman, Anthony, did you do more time? Anthony, who did more time, you or your father? My father did more time. The last bit he did was 8 years. And then he did, when he was younger, he did like 5 years, so that's 18. Yeah, my father had about over 20 years in altogether. I had 14, so he did more time than me. He did more time than me. Anthony, hey Anthony, sending love from Buffalo. Hey Buffalo, I got the Bills game on. The Bills better win tonight. I bet the Bills over these. I can't stand Kansas City. I can't stand them. It's 28-21. That's why if you see me turning my head, I got the TV on and it's muted. And Buffalo's got the ball with I think like 2 minutes left or something like that. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, how did Anthony Trent Acosta, better known as Tony Pep, get his nickname? As long as I knew him, which was all my life, I really don't remember how he got his nickname. I know how Tony Lee got his nickname. I know how Fat Andy got his nickname. I know how Skinny Dom got his nickname. I just don't know and remember how Tony Pep got his name. But it might have been passed down to him because he had an older uncle named Sonny Pep. So it might have been like a family thing. That was passed down from uncle to nephew and so on and so forth, because that happens a lot in the mob. Nicknames are passed down, generational, you know what I mean? Like the father has a nickname and the son gets the same nickname, or the nephew gets the same nickname. So I know he had an uncle named Sonny Pep. So it might have been one of those deals. Alex, did the Bergen crew actually get a piece of Lufthansa heist? Was Gotti nervous when the news hit? No, they had nothing to do with the Lufthansa heist. I don't know where that information came from. The only Gambino member that had anything to do with the Lufthansa heist was Fat Andy and Tony Lee. After the heist, they went to Cafe Liberty, which is reopened now, which I said earlier. They went to Cafe Liberty and they partied till the next day, celebrating the heist. After that, a while later, after that, Jimmy Burke, they brought, and Vinny Asara brought the jewelry that was robbed from Lufthansa to the gold store that Fat Andy, Tony Lee, and Sarial had, and they fenced all the jewelry from Lufthansa. And that was the tie-up between the Gambino family and the Calese family. John Gotti's crew had nothing to do with it, and I don't understand why he would be nervous about it, because he had nothing to do with it. Let's see. From Frank, hey Anthony, could you explain the Brooklyn number and the Manhattan number? Where did the number come from? Okay. So the Brooklyn number, so years ago, back in the day, every day in the Daily News, there was the results of all 9 races. The race, all 9 races. On the bottom of after the 9th race, there was what they called the Daily Mutual handle. That was the money that was handled throughout the 9 races. How much money came in to the Power Mutual windows, and the last 3 numbers of that figure was the Brooklyn number. So let's say it was 1,900,000 $900,630. The Brooklyn number that day would be 630. That would be the Brooklyn number. The Manhattan number was the original way it was really invented back in the day, and that came out after the first three races. It was a figure. I don't know how they did it, but they took the mutual money that was brought in for the races. It was, I think, every three races a number came out. Every three races a number came out, and that was the Manhattan number. And they just had guys figuring it out how much money came in. It was like a system they had, and that was the Manhattan number. The Manhattan number. The Brooklyn number was bet way more than the Manhattan number. The Manhattan number, a lot of old timers. I worked in a single action office, and that was the Manhattan number. You could even bet how the number came out, like each number, like the one, the first, the second, and the third number. You could bet it was, and if you got that number right, it was 70-1. So if you bet $50 on the 8, and the 8 was the first number, you got paid $70-1. And then we have bleeders. You could bet two of them, two numbers in Manhattan number. And that I forgot how much a bleeder was, how much they paid for a bleeder. But yeah, so that's the numbers. But that's a good subject. That's a whole story for another day. But we could get into that. Yeah, I heard Huck died from Sammy's old crew. I heard that. I met Huck a few times. I actually met Huck. He came to visit one of the farmers in Schuylkill when I was there. But I met him in the street. But the last time I saw him was when I was an inmate at Schuylkill. Benny, Anthony, watch the story with Bonnie. They say he was made at 20 years old. I heard the same thing. I have to go with it as truth. I heard the same thing. Eastie Kid, describe Sally Ruggiero. Personality, Sally Quack, good guy. Very good guy. Always looked out for me. I got along great with him. Thanks, JB, for the donation. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Did you ever meet Joe Dogs? He's the guy who flipped on Tony Agro. He's the guy that flipped on my father, too. He wore a wire. He ate dinner in my father's house with wires on. They bugged my father's whole house because of him. He testified at 3 of my father's trials. So, yeah, I know him well. Yep, I know him well. Wilder, did you ever get tired of answering questions? Do I ever get tired of answering questions about them? No, not really. I enjoy it. Do you ever get tired of listening to me? Let's see, did I miss anything? Oh, what's up, Mr. Ruggiano? Keep us posted on when you're going to be in Vegas again. Well, from what I understand, I may be going back there after the new year. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted. This is KEX. Did you hear about the 3 capital murders while you were on the street? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, without a doubt. I heard about him when I was on the street. Yep. Lewis, I grew up in Corona. My father said the Gambinos had a piece of Western beef and Top Tomato in Queens. Oh, yeah, they owned them outright. Western beef was owned by the Castellanos, and Top Tomato was owned by some cousins of theirs. Yeah, I had to sit down with the guy that owned Top Tomato. I was trying to sell him some stuff years ago. Yeah, that's definitely true. They owned that. From Jim, was Tommy Agro a killer? Yeah, he was dangerous. He had a big mouth, really big mouth, but he was dangerous. That whole crew was dangerous. That whole Joe Piney crew was dangerous. Benny, who was tougher, Nicky Carrazzo or John Jr.? Oh, come on, Nicky was definitely tougher. You kidding? Nicky was the man. Nicky was the guy. A face in the crowd. Who was in that painting behind you? That's my parents. John Gotti had that painting painted for me over 40 years ago. That's my mother and my father when they were in their 20s. Dave B, thanks for the donation. When Tommy Egro went to clip Joe dogs in Florida, was that Tommy on his own, or was it from your old man? No, my old man didn't have anything to do with Tommy or him at that time. My old man came into the picture after that happened. That's what made Joe Dogs flip that beating, and then they made up with him. That was, oh, update, Buffalo won 28-21. Hey, I finally cashed the bet in. The first bet I won all year. Tony Soprano, was it frowned upon if a made man got married, let's say, to a Jewish woman instead of Italian? No, definitely not. Definitely not. A lot of guys married women that weren't Italian. A lot of wise guys. Bob, did you like, what's that? Did you like, do you like animals, any pets? Well, you know what? You might laugh, but I love cats. I have a cat now. I have Angie. I don't know if she's in the room with my daughter. I have cats now. Well, my grandmother always had cats. I like cats. So I don't know. People laugh at me that I like cats, but that's what I like. I like cats. Snake, how well did you know Sonny Francis? I knew him really well. I knew him all my life. I knew him from this, I know him through my father. I know him all my life. He did a lot of time with my old man. He was a great guy. As a matter of fact, I saw him when I got out of jail in '04. We had the same supervised release officer, and I met him up in the office. That was the last place I ever saw him alive, was actually in the office in Suffolk County when we were on supervised release, and we were reporting to the guy, and the guy came out yelling at us. They didn't want us sitting together. He actually told me, because I was proposed then, and I was waiting to get straightened out. And in that room, waiting room, he actually told me that he had a great conversation with Jojo Carrazza, who was at the time the consigliere of the Gambino family, about me, that I was in, and I was going to get straightened out, because they discussed all the guys that were proposed, when the names went around, and that was the last conversation I had with him. Sonny? Let's see, what do we got? From KEX. I've seen people describe Tommy Eastman as a pretty normal guy when he wasn't on coke. Would you say the same? Listen, once they got lit up, they were dangerous. They did a lot of vicious things. Him and Anthony Stabile and that crew and Ray, they did a lot of vicious things to a lot of people. Listen, I wouldn't get in the car with them when they were using. Back, in the beginning I did. When I first started running around with Tommy, and I was 18, 19, and he used to take me out drinking with him and snorting coke and partying with girls. I was a kid. It was great. But later on, when they started freebasing, and I knew they were people were doing the Houdini, I wouldn't get in the car with them. I told that story about when I was driving with my brother and me, and they wanted me to help them, and I told them no. Let's see what I got here. This is from Alec. Was Charlie Koenig as scary as he looks? Yeah, he was a sick guy. He was an evil, sick guy that did evil, sick things. From Frank, could Willie Boy have told the feds about the apartment, or was he gone by then? No, he was gone. He was gone by then. It definitely wasn't Willie Boy. He was way gone when that happened. Tony Soprano, I don't know who that is, but did you ever know or do any business with Martin Kruger, AKA the wig guy? Yeah, he was great friends with us. My brother used to loan him Shylock money. My brother loved him. My brother was so upset when he got killed. Yeah, we loved Murray. He used to come and see us all the time. He was a great guy. We used to loan him money. You know what? He always paid my brother back. He was a big gambler. He was always had a smile on his face. That was terrible what happened to Murray. That was terrible. From Anthony, did Fat Andy ever talk about Sammy flipping? If so, how upset was he? Sammy always seems to talk highly of him. Buffalo wins, but they can never seem to beat Kansas City during the playoffs. I know, you're right. He was upset with anybody that cooperated. My father hated people cooperating, and that's what haunts me today. I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, he definitely didn't like people that cooperated, no matter who they were. And that's what I deal with all the time, him and them feelings. I don't really want to talk about it because I get emotional. From Pell, where would you think the toughest places to live in New York City, mafia-wise, are? Like the grittiest, darnest place? I mean, now I don't know. Back then, probably downtown Manhattan, the Lower East Side was grimy. Harlem was grimy. A lot of Italians lived down there. From Lewis, did you guys have a piece of those strip clubs on Queens Boulevard, Wiggles and Goldfingers? Yeah, definitely. Ronnie One-Arm had a couple of strip joints back in the day. Yeah, they always, listen, the mob had all the strip clubs back then. Later on, I remember the mob had the strip clubs, and the Russian mob had the services. They used to shuffle around the girls that danced at them. But the mob had all the strip clubs. Listen, the mob had everything back then: the strip clubs, the nightclubs, the discos, everything. Alec, did you know Richard Cantarella, Banana Heavyweight? No, I didn't know him. Didn't know him. Okay, let's see what we got here. From Chris, have you discussed your thoughts yet on New York mayoral election? Was New York worse now or in the 70s? Oh, in the 70s, it was a whole different ball game. I mean, it was like, with porn in the Times Square with all peep shows and porn movies, and it was totally different in the 70s than when Giuliani took it over. He made it into Disneyland. Now, I don't want to get political, but I think if this guy Mandami wins, it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. If he wins, let's see what we got. From, I can't pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. You come on every week. Raghav. I'm not sure, it's cut off. And I don't want to pronounce your name wrong, but I really appreciate you coming on every time I go live. And your question is, what is your opinion about immigration? Not to be political, but my grandparents came here legally through Ellis Island, learned how to speak English, got jobs, raised families. Some of them became citizens. My grandfather became a citizen. My grandmother on my father's mother was a citizen. My mother's father became a citizen. My grandmother had a green card till the day she died. I think immigration is a great thing if it's done legally. That's what I think, because I went to jail for everything I did illegal. So I think when someone does something illegal, no matter what it is, if that word illegal is involved in it, let's leave it at that. Okay. Oh, shit. Hold on. I missed. Hold on. Rob, thanks for the donation. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. You're an authentic human being, Anthony. Great YouTube channel. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Rob. Really. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's see what I got here. From Benny, Anthony, thoughts on Sonny Black? Seems like he died honorably going to that meeting. Listen, they all did. They all did. They went to a meeting. They thought they were meeting people they could trust, and they got killed. That was a big thing. I know the Gambinos had their hand in that. I know Joe Messina was tight with John. Neil had his, I think Neil and them put that all together. Because and that was a big move. big move. Let's see, what else do we got? Okay. Will I do another mob tour? Yeah, definitely. I love to do mob tours. I think the people like them. I love it. I like it. I don't know if I'm going to do any, in the near future in New York because the winter's coming. I mean, I was just up there the other day and I was a little chilly. I do live in Florida. As a matter of fact, I'm going to the beach on Tuesday. But I'm definitely going to do more. I really enjoyed them. There's a lot of places I could go to. Listen. I was around a lot of years. I went to a lot of places. I met a lot of people. I know a lot of stories, and I'm definitely going to do more tours. From Alec, did you know Colombo heavyweight Joe Waverly? He seems like one tough bastard or crazy. Yeah, listen, I met all of them along the way. I never met Carmine. I met Ali Boy. I met Joe Waverly. I met, of course, Teddy Persico. I met Ali Boy's brother. I met Amato. I met so many of them. Even before that war broke out, Hank the Bank. I met so many of them. I met so many people throughout the years. New York City House Radio. Hello, sir, Ruggiano. How are you? I'm doing really good, NYC House Radio. Thanks for tuning in. All right, fellas. I think I'm going to wrap it up now. I really appreciate everybody coming in. I'm going to be doing this hopefully every Sunday, maybe a little more than that, God willing. So thanks for tuning in. And don't forget, if you like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. And check out the tour. Go to my Patreon. I have it on my Patreon right now. The link is on this thing here. So just hit the link. So check out my Patreon. I got a lot of good stuff on there. And, I got the the barber video on there. Now I got the mob tour on there. So check it out. It's really cool. I enjoyed it. So everybody stay safe and see you soon.